Today we're injecting a prime brisket. We're going to start really early in the morning and finish off for dinner time. And if you have a problem with dry brisket, you might want to try something like Butcher BBQ. There's all kinds of injections out there, but I highly recommend this one. Injecting brisket. As you can see, it's really early in the morning. And what we're going to do today is do this in real time. So I would normally get up very early in the morning to inject, let it sit for a couple of hours, get a smoker going, and then try and have the brisket ready for supper time. The recipe for this is below in the comments section. We're going to do a sugar-free rub, and I've got an injection. This is called Butcher BBQ Prime Brisket Injection, and it's phosphates. And if you've never experimented with injections before, I highly recommend doing this. We've all cooked brisket, and you can cook a really good brisket. This is just stepping it up into competition level. We injected very early in the morning, and then we'd smoke our briskets for a 1 o'clock turn in. So this is a prime brisket that I bought at Costco. They finally came down in price to $3.99 a pound. This is about 16 pounds, but it's too much brisket for the two of us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into 3. We're going to save part of it for sous vide. We're going to save part of it for sauerbraten. And we'll inject the one that we're going to keep today. And this piece here will be for today, and that'll be for the last little tip of the flat there will be. So I'm cutting right through the point and the flat, and then I'll save that for the sauerbraten. So I've got a nice big piece here for today. I don't cook whole briskets anymore. That's the one we're going to work with. This will get vac packed, and that'll get vac packed for sous vide. Now I'm just going to trim this up. Cut off some of the ugly bits of fat and down to about a 1/4 inch. That means this part right here. There you go. As you can see, I've trimmed that up nicely. It's pretty dark out here. Sorry about that. So I like that. And the little pieces of fat that I cut off, I like to put some rub on that and then just stick it off to the side and render it out, and that's a great little snack. Now we're going to take 1 cup of water. I've got 3 tablespoons of the Butcher's injection mix. Dissolve that in the water. There, that's nicely dissolved, and there's a ton of flavor in there. You could mix the powder with a beef broth, but I'm just going with the water because it's beefy enough. And I've just got a cheap syringe. We just load that up, and we're just going to go in a checker pattern right into the meat. Oops. That's why I do it outside, because it squirts in the kitchen. Just on an angle, every couple of inches. And it's going to leak out a little bit, but that's fine. We'll wipe that off later. Sometimes when you're injecting, it'll come out one of the holes and squirt. So that's why I like to do it outside. There you go, all injected. I got the flat injected, part of the point, and what we're going to do now is take this and we're going to rest it in the fridge, and you'll see it kind of leaking out and getting kind of gooey and stuff, but we'll wipe that off with a paper towel later. So into the fridge, I'm going to go in there for probably, anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. 8 hours would be fine, but I don't want it to go mushy, so I'm going to put this in. This is going to be super juicy, and we used to experiment with this on really skinny flats, and when we injected them, they poof up to double the size, and super juicy. We'd cook them, torture them all day long on a smoker, and they'd squirt when you cut them. So it's going to be very juicy if you haven't tried injecting. So this is, I'm just going to just let it sit like that into the fridge. Next time I see you, this will be going. Okay, here we go in the second part of our injected brisket. I put this in the fridge and I let it sit there for three and a half hours. The sun's up now, which is nice. And you can see all the liquid in there. There's quite a bit of liquid. So we're just going to blot that off. Now, I started this probably about an hour ago, and I've got some B&B lump in there, and I put some char logs in there too. I've got 3 pieces of apple buried in there, and I put my Traeger smoke tube in there too. So we've got some good smoke coming out right now, and we're going to stabilize this at 250 degrees. We're going to cook at a higher heat. The recipe for my rub, sugar-free rub, is below in the comments section. This is onion powder, garlic powder, mustard powder, fresh cracked pepper, and some kosher salt. Just going to mix that up by hand. Now I've got a disposable tray here and with the brisket in it. And what I like to do is, that's nice and dry now, I like to take some Worcestershire sauce and just put it on the outside. It adds a really nice tang to the brisket. Complements it really well. So this is the meat side, and then we'll flip it over and we'll hit the point side. Get it into all the little nooks and crannies, and there we go, and then we'll just flip it over. That's called a pigtail. I've had these for years. That's an original pigtail, but there's knockoffs now. The fat side up. A little bit of Worcestershire sauce on the top. There we go. And we'll just put the rest of this rub on. There you go. So we're set up for indirect cooking here. I've got the heat deflectors on just above the charcoal, and then I've got my grates. Everything's burning really clean. I'm bang on 250 degrees. What I'm going to do, this is called a Kamado Joe 2. And I put another tray in there in the bottom because I'm going to put some of that fat on. So I'm just going to stick this at the front part right here. And then for this, I just have some salt and pepper on it. But those are going to be nice little bits. I'll put that right over top of the tray. Everybody always goes for the fat, so why not cook some more? I never throw my brisket fat out, especially a good one like this. Okay, that's enough time with that lid open. I'll close this up, lock it. Now, at this stage, what we're trying to do is get some smoke into it, some really good, clean smoke. And I can smell it, and you can see that it's like really super clean smoke. And I'm going for some bark. I'm going for the color here. And that's going to take probably 5 or 6 hours. So I'm going for the smoke, and I'm going for color. So I'll sit by the pool and watch this all day. Okay, it's been 5 hours on this brisket cook, and my Kamado Joe Classic 2 has been holding rock steady at 250 degrees, and it was such a pleasure to cook on today. It was so steady that I was able to go out for a bike ride, came back, and it was still 250 degrees. One of the problems you have with brisket is it stalls. If you've ever cooked a pork butt or a brisket and it's just stuck at 140, 150, 60, right up to 165 degrees, it's stuck in the plateau. And how you break that sometimes, and what we do in competition is we'll go for the color in the brisket and we wrap it in butcher paper or tin foil, aluminum foil. And then you'd put it back on, and that'll help break through the plateau. But in this particular case, it was going so well that I just decided to let it go. I didn't wrap it. With prime briskets and injecting them, your cook time is going to be reduced too. So let's take a look at this. The tray worked out really well. My little fat pieces look really good. Yeah, look at those. Some people throw that away. Just salt and pepper, it's a welcome sight. Now, to get this out, I'm just going to bring the tray out and set it right here. And we're going to wrap it now and put it in the cooler. So I added a temp spike in there, and I took it up to 187 degrees. And I've got a really nice bark on there, but I'm still going to wrap it. Some people just want to leave it on, but I'm going to put it in the cooler, and it's just going to get juicier and still break down a little bit more. So this is all closed up, and it's still sitting at 200 degrees. I'm going to take a couple of forks is how I'm going to lift this out. Just readjust my temp spike. And we're just going to fold this up like this. Fold up the sides. Want to keep all that precious juice in there. Butcher paper is great. So I'm still going to monitor the temperature, and I've got my brisket cooler, so I'll put this in. Be on an angle. Put some newspaper on the top. My brisket towel. And I know from the hundreds of briskets that I've cooked over the years that that is going to stay in the safe zone right through until we eat. So that's going to sit probably for about 3 hours. This has done its job. I will pull the little fat out. I might leave that on there for now for a couple of hours, but you've got some nice pieces of salt and pepper fat there. Now, my recommendations, people always ask me for recommendations. I'm going to say a temp spike would be a really good gift. If put that on your wish list. Temp spike is Bluetooth, so I could monitor that with my phone throughout the day, which was really good, and I can see the internal temperature. I'm going to say the Butchers BBQ Prime Brisket injection. That's really good, and the pigtail, which I've had this one for over 20 years now. That's an original one. And now there's knockoffs. You can find one on Amazon. And of course my Kamado Joes. Out of all my ceramic cookers that I have, Big Green Eggs, Primo, the Kamado Joe wins hands down for the control tower, the airlift hinge. It's got a lock on it. It's got a really nice fancy gasket. They've just improved on everything that Big Green Egg had. Big Green Eggs, no thanks. It's got an ash clean out in the bottom. They're about $1,000. You can get them on sale, sometimes for $7.50 at Black Friday. I'm going to let this sit for a few hours. Then I'm going to put it on a cutting board, and I'm going to cut into it. It's just going to get juicier as the time goes on, and it's still going to raise in temperature. That's my brisket injection, competition style. Thanks for watching.